All right, I'm back. This is part 2 of what does it really mean to follow Jesus within the context of world religion, within the context of things being institutionalized, and within the context of things being branded, right? And by the way, today is Thursday, October the 3rd, 2019, and I'm driving home from Ignited Church in Lakeland, which my fiance and I affectionately refer to as the Demon Church, because they do exorcisms there. And it's not like Hollywood, because Hollywood does not depict. No, I mean, if you get your idea of what a CIA officer is from Hollywood, you'll think that CIA officers jump off roofs for a building, jump off roofs for a living and shoot at people for a living. In reality, 99% of CIA officers just go to an office and sit down at a desk and do whatever people do in offices at their desks, and as a matter of fact, my understanding from Alex Jones is that the majority of people by background that the CIA hires are psychologists, mass media people, and sociologists. So that casts an even more diverse picture of what it means to be an employee of the CIA. So, and I don't know if that's the majority of employees or the majority of new hires. I'm not really sure. I can't delineate that one, but that is what Alex Jones said one day. So I personally put a lot of stock on what Alex Jones says. I believe he's very credible in what he has to say. So, okay, so what does it mean to follow Jesus within the context of world religions, within the context of things being institutionalized, within the context of things being branded? So Jesus, I believe, firmly established that his kingdom is a spiritual kingdom. I don't think anybody would argue with that, right? So we have two facts that have not been motor butted to death, and that pretty much that I'm pretty confident everybody would agree with. That when a Hindu woman or an atheist man or a satanic woman or anybody loves their child, that is an expression of goodness. That's an expression of God. Okay? All right. That's one of the established facts. The other established fact is that Jesus' kingdom was a spiritual kingdom, not an institutional kingdom. I want to talk about that for a minute, even though it's a little bit of a rabbit trail. I love this concept of Jesus' kingdom being a spiritual kingdom, because just think about it. Jesus came down from heaven. He could have come down with a quadrillion angels and established the most mind-blowing network of worldwide institutions that anybody could ever imagine. He could have come down with a very institutional kind of mindset. And for me, in my experience and in my opinion, an institutional mindset is a highly egocentric mindset. Hey, you want to know what? You think your 501c3 foundation is something? Hey, look at what I can do. Boom, bop, beep, beep, bop, boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. Look at that high rise I just put up. That building right there is the foundation for the furtherment of the interests of the beneficent interest of mankind, one for another, according to the, etc., so forth and so on, right? That's where you go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation website, the Clinton Foundation website. It's like, we are here to help the people of the earth, and the children, always the children. We love the children. I mean, it's just pomposity and fanfare and braggart city. Bragging about all the good they're doing. The only good that I have any respect for is the kind of good that keeps its mouth shut. That's the only kind of good I have any respect for. And that's why I want to be a follower of Christ, because what did Jesus say every time he did something good? He said, now don't tell anybody. Right? He didn't say, oh, now go into the hills and go into the cities and tell everybody that I just healed your foot, or I took away your leprosy, or I didn't. No, he said, now don't tell anybody, right? Because that's the way we're supposed, to me, Christ is the model. That's the way we're supposed to do good. But getting back, that was a digression from a digression. Getting back to the first digression, Jesus could have established the most amazing network of worldwide foundations. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is funded, maybe let's just say $1 trillion. Maybe, not really, but let's just say probably, it could be upwards of, it could be a couple $100 billion, it could be upwards of $1 trillion. Who knows? I mean, once things get to 200 billion, who really knows? It'd take a team of accountants a year to revalue everything. So who really knows? And you got interest in multiple countries, and you got foreign currency valuations, and it just, accounting is an art, right? It's not a science, it's an art. It just, you move the numbers under different columns, and the columns have different names, and all of a sudden the balance sheet magically changes by 85% in the direction you want it to change. That's what accounting is. It's an art, right? And it's all about the laws, and the law changes. Now we can put this value, this number under this column, whereas before we had to keep it under this column. And it's just, so anyway, it's all highly, 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 highly subjective, according to the whims and the desires and the interests and the priorities of whoever's in charge. This guy almost just changed lanes right in front of me with no turn signal. Okay, so like I said, Jesus could have established the most amazing institutions with the most amazing mission statements and the most amazing staff. The institutions that Jesus established could have been staffed by angels. How could you get a better staff than that? Right? But clearly, creating an institutional solution to the problems of the world was not Jesus' priority, right? Clearly, right? All right. So, like I was saying, when the Hindu woman loves her child, that's an expression of goodness. That's an expression of God. When the Satanist, when the atheist, when the low-down, dirty, no-good, drunk, schizophrenic, homeless man loves another homeless man, right? That's an expression of goodness. That's an expression of God, right? Okay. Those things, all of these things. Actually, there's only two. The Hindu woman loving her child, and Jesus' kingdom is a spiritual kingdom. Now, what did Jesus also say? On the day of judgment, many will come to me and say, Lord, Lord, and I will say, depart from me. I know you not. I don't know if I can get this one out without breaking down. But here's the thing. To me, I don't have a number 3 here that everybody will agree with. I'm sure there will be some people that will take issue with number 3. But to me, it's a logical inevitability. To me, it's a logical inevitability that if it's true that people will come to Jesus saying, Lord, Lord, oh, Jesus, Jesus, okay? Just think of it.
Oh, Jesus, Jesus, I was in the praise team. I was in the choir. I did this, I did that. I helped the children of the world. I was the yuckity-yuck, poppity-pop of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Oh, Jesus, Jesus.
Bill and Melinda Gates are transhumanists. They're basically Satanists, or, at a minimum atheists. They're no. So that's not a good example, but let's just pretend. Well, let's say this. Let's say I was the finance CFO for the Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham saying, I was some big yuckity-yuck in the charity industry, because it is an industry. I won't get off on that for now, but it is charity. Institutionalized charity is an industry. Okay? So all of that. And Jesus says, depart from me, I don't know you. I don't know you. Essentially what Jesus says, get out of here, you're a piece of trash. You're trash to me. Like God told the Israelites in Isaiah, like, you're trash to me. Even the good things you do are like a pile of used, and the literal translation is minstrel rags. Used minstrel rags. That's why all this pompity, frumpity, frump, yuckity yuck, church lady, goody two-shoe, moralizing, shame and guilt projecting evil that comes out of the churches is such a farce. Because I don't want to go so far as to say that the Bible is full of coarse language, but there is enough coarse language in the Bible to make the case that God is nothing that resembles some pompity-pomp, squeaky clean church lady type of a man. And there are those kind of men, right? And they're basically the men that are beholden to the pompity-pomp, frumpity-frump, squeaky clean church ladies, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. There are those kind of men, the men who've lost their manhood, the men who've denied their own gender, right? Which in my estimation is 1 degree of separation from men who deny their own souls, right? If you deny the gender that God gave you, you're just a snap away from denying the soul that God gave you, right? In my opinion. All right, so it doesn't mean all men have to be the same. It doesn't mean all men have to be some cartoonish, image of masculinity. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, I'm saying what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, okay? So, basically that's what Jesus said he's going to say. Depart from me, I don't know you, right? I hear you talking the talk, but I don't know who you are. I don't fully understand this passage. I still have some question in my mind about it, but what I understand of it is what I understand of it, and that's what I'm telling you right now. So to me, it's a logical inevitability that if that is true, what Jesus said, then it must also be true that there will be people who do not say, Lord, Lord, and yet Jesus will say, come to me, my child. You may not know me, but I know exactly who you are, and you belong to me. See? That's the part that really gets me. Now, you might say, well, that don't make any sense. And like I said, this is number 3. Not everybody's going to agree with me on this, but to me, it makes sense. To me, one is the inverse of the other. Like the negative of a picture. It's the same picture. It's just a different view. It's just a different angle. You're looking at the same thing. You're just looking at it from a different angle, right? That's what it is to me. And that's the Hindu woman loving her child, or all the other people making expressions of goodness, expressions of good, expressions of God. So, to me, it's logical inevitability. If you don't think it's logical inevitability, then I believe at a minimum it's incumbent upon you, within the context of intellectual integrity, to at least seriously consider the possibility. Because if you're not going to seriously consider the possibility, look at what you're left with. You're left with not only are only institutional Christians going to heaven, not only is that true, which is awkward and hard enough as it is, right? But now, even not all of them are going. It's like nobody has any way to know what the, how do you know? How do you have any confidence whatsoever, that you have a right standing before God if there's a chance that you're going to say, Lord, Lord, and Jesus is going to say, I don't know you. I mean, just think about that. Think about going to your mother or your father and you say, hi, Mom, hi, Dad, and they say, I don't know you. You know, wow, that's heavy, right? So I think what I'm trying to say is that God recognizes us. Jesus, when he said, depart from me, I don't know you, what he was saying is that he recognizes us by our spiritual fingerprint. But that's not really a good metaphor. By our spiritual identity, not our institutional affiliation. How's that? That's pretty good, right? Jesus recognizes us by our spiritual identity. You might even be able to go so far out there in, what's the right word? Accommodation to our friends from the other side of the world that are all about energy and vibration. You might even be able to go so far out in accommodation to them to say that Jesus recognizes us by our spiritual vibration. You know? I mean, they say every submarine in the ocean has its own vibrational profile. They know the exact identity of every submarine if only they can hear it. They analyze the sound patterns. Okay? So it's profound stuff, man. I mean, it's, to me anyway, it's just profound stuff. Okay? So you could also say whatever language you like the best. It's all the same thing. It all means the same thing. It all points in the same direction, right? Jesus recognizes us by our spiritual profile, right? As opposed to our institutional affiliation. Now, there's a whole world of trouble over there because somebody's going to say, "Well, what does that mean? You just do good things and then you get to go to heaven? So how's that any different than just works like earning a trip to Disney World because you go and you pick up, you go cut some lawns and you get to go to Disney World because now you have enough money to buy a ticket to get into the park." You know, there's a whole world of trouble over there. So, but I can't address all of this at one time. It's too much, right? So I'm just saying what I can say. I can't say what I don't have time to say, or can't organize into this whole thing. So we got that. We got those three things so far. The Hindu woman that loves her child, Jesus' kingdom is spiritual kingdom. Jesus saying, depart from me, I don't know you. Therefore, in my opinion, it is logic. It's a logical inevitability that there will be people who do not say, Lord, Lord, and yet Jesus will say to them, I know you by your spiritual profile, right? You belong to me. Come into my kingdom, all right? All right. And we could argue, is this whole thing coming into the kingdom and is the whole judgment, is it a literal thing? Is it a metaphorical thing? We could argue that, but again, I can't do everything at one time. I'd be happy to argue that with you if you want to talk about that. All right, but I want to add some more on this. Now, here's the thing. I add to that. Oh man, I wanted to talk about this, but now I can't remember how it fit in. Oh, I know how it fit in. Okay, so you add to that the fact in the Old Testament that God came to be among men in person several times. The institutional Christians call that the pre-incarnate Christ. That's interesting. Before we get into all that, let me just give you a couple examples. Like, number one, when God came to check on Adam and Eve, they heard the sound of him walking. They didn't hear a spirit vibrating. They didn't hear him. They didn't see him glowing while he floated through the garden. They didn't feel tingly because his energy was near. No. They heard the Lord walking through the garden. Now, as far as I know, only a man can walk. I mean, that's not exactly what I mean, but you know what I'm trying to say. If the Lord came and they heard him walk, he he was God in man form, right? It's pre-incarnate Christ for institutional Christians, because for institutional Christians, they have to stick to their brand. See, so you see where I'm going with this, right? All right. And then there was the guy in the fire with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and whoever that king was, maybe it was Nebuchadnezzar, I can't remember. He said something like, he looks like a son of God, or he looks like but it said very explicitly, there's a fourth man in the fire, right? And then there's the angel of the Lord that came to see Abraham and tell him that he's going to have a child. And the man ate. I think he gave him bread, maybe? Well, I'm 95% sure they gave him bread, but I think they also gave him meat. I'm not sure about the meat part, but I do know about the bread part. Well, you think about that. That's a man, right? And was an angel of the Lord. The Hindus talk about avatars a lot, right? So you could say it's like an avatar, right? So there's that. And then there's this guy, Melchizedek, who wasn't just some passing through kind of guy. No, he was the king of Salem, which was the pre-Jerusalem, which means his name, King of Salem, means King of Peace. King of Peace. How much more explicit can you get? But just in case that's not explicit enough for you, Paul in the book of Romans or Hebrews, I can't remember which one, said that Jesus was a priest in the order of Melchizedek. What? Huh? And then he goes on to say, Melchizedek had no beginning and no end, no mother and father. He is a priest that will reign forever. Wow. Okay? This isn't the Bible. They don't talk about this stuff in church, folks. The churches are some kind of weird. There's something weird with the churches, man. Everybody thinks they're getting the Bible, but they're not getting the Bible. They're getting something else. They're getting some derivation. They're getting some dumbed down, like third grade version of something. I haven't wrapped my head around it quite yet, but it's some weird, man. It is weird, okay? And I'm into weird, but I'm not into this kind of weird. I'm not into lying kind of weird. I'm not into fraud weird. I'm not into cheating weird. I'm not into fake, like mockery, like church lady. The church lady archetype is a mockery of true morality, because true morality is about standing up for what's right, speaking truth to power, taking care of the orphans and the widows, not giving people capable of work money because you feel sorry for them. That's not righteousness. That's not morality. That's a perversion of the concept of righteousness and morality, or approving of things just because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. I mean, what the heck is that? That's, all this church lady nonsense making everybody feel good because it's just pandering is all it is. It has nothing to do. It's like making a mockery. See, the devil always puts something fake where something real is supposed to be, always. And that's what is in the churches. They're supposed to be talking about the Word of God, but instead they're talking about some fake something that kind of like, when you look at it, it's kind of like, yeah, it kind of sounds like the Word of God. He kind of talks like a preacher. But it's not the real thing. It's fake. It's some fake kind of thing, right? So I haven't wrapped my head around it, but it's definitely fake. I can tell you right now it's fake, because they don't talk about Melchizedek. They don't talk about this really profoundly interesting stuff that's right there, blatant, boom, in black and white, right in front of your face in the Bible. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about real. They talk about fake stuff. They just go talk one little thing over here. Everything is like, it's like a Jesus flavored flower club, a Jesus flavored garden club, basically. It's just like some kind of absurdity. It's like some kind of like some rotten piece of candy. It's just like something. I don't know. It's sweet, but it's also nasty. It's like sweet and nasty, but it's sweet and pretty, but it's nasty because it's not real candy. It's like you bite into it and you think it's real, and it's like plastic, and you're like, oh, what is this, man? So as long as you just sit there like passively and just look at it, it's cool because it looks good, But it's when you bite into it and you actually get a taste of what it actually is made out of. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Something is off here. Something is just off, Anyway, so we got Melchizedek. And then we got Elihu. I won't even get into Elihu and Job because it's just too much going on here already. But Elihu, man, it blows my mind. Elihu is the 50-foot statue in the middle of town that nobody will talk about. Oh, man. See, when I encounter a situation like that, that's all I want to talk about. If I find out there's something right there in front of everybody and nobody will talk about it, I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this. And they're like, no, really, seriously, let's talk about it. And then everybody starts like, shut up. Then they start getting mad at me. I'm like, we should really talk about this. And they're like, no, well, then I'll say, my attitude will be like, well, I'm going to bring it up again next week. I don't care if you don't talk about it. And I'm going to keep bringing it up until I die, until you kill me. How about that? I'm just going to keep bringing it up forever because there's something about this. All right. There's a reason. I don't know what it is. There's a reason nobody wants to talk about it. There's a reason. I mean, that Elihu is amazing. I can't get into it right now, but Elihu is amazing. Okay. So we got all these pre-incarnate Christ. Pre-incarnate Christ? No, it's not pre-incarnate Christ. It's the true embodiment of the fact that Jesus' kingdom is a spiritual kingdom, not an institutional kingdom. See, Jesus himself was an institutional instantiation of God coming down to man, right? So if God came down as Jesus one time, and as Melchizedek as another time, and as an angel of the Lord another time, and as Elihu another time, and as the man in the fire another time, is this... Well, what's that? Who are we to say you can't? Why do we have to wrap that in Christian talk? In the pre-incarnate Christ. No, he's God. Jesus was God. Melchizedek was God. Elihu was God. See, that blows the whole Christian brand. Boom! Blows it up out of the water, right? But see, we got to institutionalize things because that's how we gather up money into big piles. Right? We can't let the money be all spread out. No, we got to gather it up into big piles so the next level above those institutions can gather it up in even bigger piles and so on and so forth. So at the top, they got like a pile of money that's like trillions and trillions and trillions. And there's like 3 guys in control of it all. That's what they want. That's why it's like an exsanguating society. They exsanguate these children for adrenochrome, which means they torture them and then they drain their blood. And the reason they torture them before they drain their blood is because now their blood is full of adrenaline. That's why it's called adrenochrome, right? And that is the real fountain of youth. See, the fountain of youth is just a metaphor. It's just a game the elite play with us to watch us scatter all over the face of the earth looking for a fountain like a bunch of rats on a rat race, right? But they know what the real fountain of youth is. The real fountain of youth is adrenochrome. That's how people like Hillary Clinton get reanimated. They die. They pump all their blood out of them, pump a youthful blood into them. See, the Bible says the life is in the blood. The Bible knows what the Bible. I had my pastor, not my current pastor. My previous pastor said one time, the primitive minds of the men that wrote the Bible, and I just about fell out of my chair. I was like, you're kidding, right? That was a joke, right? Because I'm like, man, there's definitely a primitive mind here, but it's not the men who wrote the Bible. You're projecting, brother. You're projecting your own primitiveness where it doesn't belong. All right, see, the Bible knows what it's talking about, all right? So it's like the elite exsanguate these children after they torture them because it's the fountain of youth. See, they can't tell us that. Oh, I got to make third video. I'll be right back.